Hello, everyone. I want to do some housekeeping before we get started. You will see a chat feature. So, if you have anything that you want to say as I'm going through the presentation, I will be asking questions. You kind of fill it in there. If you have any questions throughout the profile, you'll see a tab that says questions. Just click on questions. You can type your questions in there. So, don't parking lot it, meaning don't wait till the end because you may forget, because I know sometimes I do. So just put it there and we will definitely get to those questions. So when I think about this topic, it actually hit me when I was coming into work this morning that the secret sauce to customer centric culture. I had a hankering for some Chick-fil-A nuggets. So I went to Chick-fil-A this morning and the person that took my money, she was just so excited. I mean, she was a lot of personality for 6 a.m. in the morning. And I've done this a few times throughout the years. And this Chick-fil-A, almost every Chick-fil-A that I go to, everyone is always very customer focused, very customer friendly. And actually this morning, it was, like I said, 6 a.m. and I ordered the Chick-fil-A nuggets, not the minis. I ordered the Chick-fil-A nuggets, and I mistakenly said that I wanted fries instead of the hash browns. And I didn't realize that I said that till I got to my office and realized they had given me fries. And I was like, "Well, that was so nice of them." I mean, I do enjoy the waffle fries, but what happened was, it was breakfast time. And so I made a mistake, but they still went ahead and gave me my order, even though they weren't selling fries at that time. So that's really thinking about and being a customer centric culture. Chick-fil-A just has that culture, and there's several places that have that. If you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, all of the characters, everybody that you meet, they are very friendly. You probably never have had a bad experience. I know that I have not had a bad experience at any of those places. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about the secret sauce to customer centric cultures. It's that when everyone comes into the door, when everyone experiences one of your employees, they feel like they are important. And so just to give you a little background on the Omnia Group, we are a behavioral profiling company and we have been here since 1985, and we are specialized in employee selection and development and in engagement surveys and cultural surveys. We have been validated twice in regard to our assessments, meaning that who we say these people are who they truly are. And so when we're talking about that employee selection, that is really where you start when you want to have that customer centric culture. It really starts with a great hire, just like with Chick-fil-A and Disney. They really start at the beginning. We want to make sure that we have people that can really put forth the culture that we want, really buy into what we want our customers to feel. So the first part of that great hire is definitely skills. And so when I say skills, this part I'm really talking about hard skills, because go ahead and type yes if you've ever, or type Y if you've ever hired someone that had the technical skill that you needed, but they still did not last long. So they could, they knew how to turn on the computers, they knew how to sort an Excel spreadsheet. They had that technical piece, but they didn't really have the other piece that you're looking for, the piece that fits into the culture. And that is really the second piece, is not only the culture, but also the talent. So that I like to call this like the soft skills. Someone that is gregarious, someone that's great at building relationships and rapport, or someone that is more analytical and fact oriented. And then the third piece of that great hire is the cultural fit. We all know, or we all sometimes think we know what our culture is. And if you hire someone that does not like the social, or does not like the public kudos and congratulations and the bells ringing when they made a sale, and that is what your culture is, guess what? That person probably is not going to last. they're not going to make it because one, you're going to feel like, well, they don't really fit into the culture, and two, that person is going to feel a little overwhelmed. So when you're thinking about having a great hire, when you're thinking about trying to create that customer centric culture, you need these three pieces. You need to make sure that they have the hard skills that you're looking for. You want to make sure that they have those soft skills, the things that are a little harder to measure, but because there's not a yes or no, it's not a hard factual piece. It is those skills that you really find out during the interview process, or you really find out by using the Omnia profile. And then that third piece is the cultural fit. So when we're thinking about that cultural fit, we first have to truly define what our culture is. And when I say culture, I'm basically meaning the personality and character of your organization. So how do you really define the company culture? Some people think they know what their culture is. And then also, some people think that the company just has one culture. It really doesn't. Your company has multiple cultures within it. You might have one umbrella culture, but think about your sales culture is going to be different than your service culture because the responsibilities of those two departments are different. And so you want to make sure that you understand what the culture that you're hiring for. And the way you do that is, how are decisions made? Is it more of a collaborative process? Is it more of a unilateral process? Do we have think tanks, or does it really just come from the top down? So think about that, because when we're thinking about how decisions are made and you're thinking about bringing people on, you want to understand that some people are that more independent, creative, kind of want to chart their own way, where other people, they want to be kind of directed and told, exactly what needs to be done. So how decisions are made can play a part in regards to who you want to bring on. Also, you want to find out how decisions are communicated to the employees. That's another part of creating that, or defining your company culture. Are decisions communicated email, not communicated at all? I know I've worked for a place where we really didn't know that something was happening until it happened. One place I worked for, there was a person that was starting in my department, and guess when I found out that they were starting? The day that they started. Nothing was given out ahead of time. And so, how do you think that made that person feel, as well as the other people in the department? And so, you want to find out, like, how are decisions communicated to employees. That's going to help in regards to defining that culture, as well as how employees are recognized. Now, if you are a company that, you know what, you got your paycheck, you should know that you're doing a great job, that's not necessarily going to work for someone that needs those bells and whistles. And I'll just give you a little FYI, because you have your paycheck, you should know you're doing a good job, doesn't really work for many people that you'll bring onto your organization. So you want to have some type of recognition process, but really, what does that look like? Are you all about the bells and whistles, or is it more private? We stop by your office, you get a private email, that you're in the newsletter, whatever that looks like. Understanding how you recognize your employees will help you in regards to creating that customer centric culture, because you have to know where you're starting from to know how to get where you want to go. And then you have the interaction among departments. Are people in silos? I know I've worked for several organizations where I've worked for large corporations and I've worked for smaller companies. And my experience has been, smaller companies, there's a lot more interaction among the departments. Where I've worked for larger corporations, and we were in our department, we had no idea what the other department was doing. And so we had some go between, but it's like the whisper game. It starts out saying one thing, and by the time it reaches us, it's something completely different. And so you want to understand the interaction among the departments, and are you working in silos? And then lastly, interaction among top management. And so, how do they communicate? I know I've worked for an organization before where we had this big project. And so, senior leadership created this project for us. And so, we all came together and we were kind of broken up into groups. And so everyone was going to have this big think tank session. And so each senior leader was assigned to one of the groups. At the end of that project or at the end of that think session, we came together and realized that we had all been given different directions. So we really, so we really didn't feel like there was great interaction between top management. So you want to understand what the interaction is between your top management to really create that culture. And we all want to be on the same page, because if top management leadership isn't on the same page, guess what? The message that comes down to your people are going to be different. So if we're all trying to strive for a customer-centric culture and management doesn't know how to get us there, then how do they expect us to be there? So you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. You want to answer these questions to help you identify when you're getting ready to bring someone on, because how do you create that customer-centric culture? The first thing you want to do, and the first line of defense, is really hiring the right people. And you won't know who to hire if you don't know what you need and what you're striving for. So answering those cultural questions in the beginning is going to help you identify the behaviors that you need for the position. So the first one is needed to be successful. What does this person need to be successful within your organization? And so now this is talking about the bigger umbrella culture as well as that department culture. So what do I need to be successful? Do I need to be a creative thinker? Do I need to be a strategic thinker? Do I need to be someone that's just a workhorse, that we already have the plans in place? We just need someone that can sit here and work it out for us and kind of handle the policies and the procedures that we've already created. That is a big thing, because understanding what this person is going to do is going to be beneficial in making them successful in your organization. So if we're thinking about that customer-centric culture, how can I be customer forward? And especially in this position, that could be creating timelines. So making sure that this person can work in the pace that you've set. Because if you have a quick turnaround timeline for your organization and you bring this person on, and this person is a more methodical, routine, kind of like to complete one task before moving on to the next, they're not going to fall in line with your customer-centric culture. Next, when you're looking at identifying the behaviors for the position, you want to know that how will the person handle stress, and will they be stronger under stress, or will they crack? And on the profile we have what we call stress indicators. So you make sure you want to make sure that those stress indicators are in the optimal range, because we all know that we will have stress throughout the day. Not every day is going to be a bed of roses, but also not every day is a bed of thorns. But we want to make sure when it is not the rosy days that we don't have people that are flustered. People are going to call out. People are going to have vacations. So that person is going to have to step up and take on more of those responsibilities. Are they going to break down and just feel overwhelmed and flustered during those times? You want to figure that out, because what's going to happen is, if they are feeling flustered, guess who's going to feel that? Your customer. So you're no longer going to have that customer-centric culture, because Susie over here is being stressed out. The third piece is that can they be developed to provide top-notch service and outstanding productivity? And so I like to think about this question in regards to when I'm interviewing someone, and I hear some red flags. I see some red flags on the Omnia. The question you want to ask is this something that I want to spend my time coaching? Is this something that I want to spend my time mentoring and training? Or do I want to wait for someone that has that piece that I'm looking for? Yes, some people can be developed, but when you start going down that path, then guess what? You, as the manager, as the leader, you're going to have to put forth that time and energy to develop that person and bring that person up. And are they willing to provide top-notch service? I remember that I was interviewing this one person, and this is what he said. And the question was, let's say it is 5 o'clock and you're going to get off at 5:15, and you get off at 5:15, and the phone rings and it's a Friday. Are you picking up the phone? What do you think he said? Well, I can tell you this part, he didn't get the job. He said that he would let it go to voicemail because he is ready, because he wants to finish out his emails and get ready for the weekend. That is literally what he said in an interview. So obviously, I'm not going to spend my time trying to develop him and coach him on customer service is first and foremost here. If the phone rings, you need to pick it up. And so you want to make sure that you are willing to spend the time to develop the person if their skill set is not what you're looking for. I know I talk to clients all the time, and it'll excuse me, it will be for a customer service position, and the person is coming in and they don't have a high attention to detail. And this position requires a high attention to detail. And they're like, well, Tanya, I think that I can coach them on details. And I tell them, no, you can't, because I'm someone that doesn't have a high attention to detail. That's just not my forte. My strength lies in other areas. And so if someone tries to coach me and teach me on attention to detail, not saying that I make mistakes and miss things all the time. It's just I'm not a natural double checker. And so, sure, I may double check, for the first month because we just had this coaching session. But after that, you're going to go back to what's naturally your fit. And that's really what the Omnia tells people, is that it's just what they are naturally suited for. Can I do a project where I have to be very detail oriented? Yes. Do I feel like it wipes me out? Yes, it does. I have one project that I have to do every month, and it is a very detailed Excel spreadsheet piece. And I can do it once a month because that is not, my whole job. That is like 1% of what I do in 365 days. So I don't get disengaged because I have to do this one project. I know this is one thing that I have to do and I move on. But if I had to do that project every day, then no, I wouldn't make it. And you wouldn't be able to coach me to make it. So that's why we have Cynthia Brooks, who is our benchmarking specialist, who handles all of that very detailed analytical. So when you have top performers that you want to benchmark for, Cynthia Brooks is the one that's going to handle those analytics. And now we have our team working at high capacity because she's handling that piece. I'm handling webinars or, the live chat. So now our customers are not suffering because no one has to wait. Our clients don't have to wait. We're all handling things in with that are aligned with our strengths. And that's really what you want to do when you're thinking about trying to get that customer centric culture. You want to find out what are the strengths and challenges of my team so I can now set them up for success, which is going to be a customer forward culture, because there are behavioral differences. First part is that we have assertive people on our team. Think about your salespeople. And so then you have other people that are more helpful, supportive, collaborative. So you want to think about your service people. Now, would you want to put your service person in a sales role? No, and you wouldn't want to do it vice versa because their level of assertiveness is different. And so this is what we're talking about when we're talking about aligning people up to their strengths, which is going to then have a customer centric culture, because your sales prospect is not going to want to talk to the service prospect, to the service rep. They until they've made that sale. And then your service customers, they don't want to talk to a salesperson. I've already bought your product. Why are you still, hammering me for this? And so you want to make sure that the level of assertiveness that the position needs is what the person has, the person that you're bringing on. And then next is the communication style. You want to make sure that you want to understand their communication style. You'll have some people that are very gregarious, great at building relationships and rapport. You'll have some people that are more analytical and fact oriented. That gregariousness is great for client facing. It's great for reception. It not saying that analyticals can't do the other side, but it's just they're going to do it a little different. So think about the type of interactions that the clients or the customers are going to have with your employees. Then you can kind of make that determination of the different type of communication style. If it's more of a technical sale, then that somebody that is that more analytical might be able to be more successful. But then understanding the communication style of the employee is going to help you help them. The next piece is pace. And so when we're looking at pace and adaptability, you have some people that are extremely multitaskers. Like right now, I have 10 screens open because that's just how I operate. Where you have other people with 10 screens, they would probably go bonkers. Like, I can't handle 10 screens. I need one screen open. So you want to make sure that you understand the pace. So just like I was talking about earlier with Cynthia and I, because she's the benchmarking specialist, handles all of that data piece, and I'm not, data is not my strong suit. We still are in the same department and we are still providing excellent customer service because we are working to our strengths. So understanding the person's pace is going to help you. Also understanding your own pace. If you are an extremely fast-paced individual, you may be setting goals that are very demanding for your department. Now, this is not to say that you don't want to set stretch goals. You definitely don't want to be lobbing softballs saying, okay, yes, you just need to make one sale this whole year and you'll get A plus plus star star star. No, we don't want that to happen. But what we do want to happen is giving them a stretch goal that doesn't break them. We don't want them to say, I expect you to close, 5,000 sales, not dollars. I need 5,000 new clients in the next 2 months. Now that seems a little daunting. And so you want to make sure that the goals that you're setting are doable, even if it's going to push your people a little bit to do them. So, as leaders, as managers, we also have to manage our pace as well because we can set something that's too high that will start demotivating instead of motivating. And then lastly, it's the need for structure. You want to understand how much structure this person that you're going to bring on, as well as your existing employees, how much structure do they need? Someone, excuse me, no one wants to have a micromanager. So no one likes uber structure, meaning I just want somebody on my shoulder every day telling me, how to step, how many steps, how high to jump, when to jump. Nobody necessarily wants that. But you do have people on your staff that want a little bit more structure than others. So for example, we have, like Cynthia, she enjoys a lot of structure. So she wants to know the expectations that you're looking for. And this comes along with that attention to detail piece. I want to know exactly what I'm supposed to do so I can give it to you exactly the way you want it. Where I am a little more, just give me the guidelines, just tell me, give me the drop down dead date that you need it, and then let me just kind of be creative and create within. So when if you're managing these two types of people, you can't manage them the same way, because if you give me too much direction, now I feel stifled, and now I don't feel creative, and now I don't feel engaged. If you give Cynthia that, well, you know what, I really want to empower you, Cynthia, so here is the due date. You just do, you do whatever you think you need to do. Just give it to me by, um, January 1st. And so Cynthia's going to go back to her desk and be like, okay, well, I don't know how to start this. I don't know what she wants me to do. This seems a little confusing to me. And it's just because she wasn't given enough guidance. But I would be the same way. Like I'm gonna come to my office saying, I can't believe she's sitting there telling me, how high to jump, when to do it. So we're both coming back to our offices complaining, but it because we weren't managed properly. So when you do, once you understand the people that you have on staff, when you assign them to pull the renewals, you're going to get the renewals on the 15th of every month, and you won't have to remind them, can you go ahead and give me the renewals, because you're going to let them know, I want the renewals, and please sort them by volume, and I need it on the 15th of every month. So now this person can work very independently. So when we talk about that need for structure, everyone, no matter where they are on the spectrum, can work independently. It's just a matter of Some people need a little more guidance to get to that independence, and some people want a little less guidance to get to that independence. I always like to say both people are going to have questions. I'm going to have the questions on the back end after it's been done. Maybe it was done wrong. I'm not for sure, but this is kind of the way I thought I would do it. Where Cynthia's going to have questions on the front end to make sure that it's done the way you wanted it to be done. And so when we're thinking about that customer centric culture, when you have this structure piece, Cynthia feels very empowered once she has all of the information. And so now when a customer calls her, because she doesn't want to go with her gut, she wants to make sure that the answer that she's giving is the answer. Where I am comfortable going with my gut, I kind of know the answer. And so this is what, so this is the answer. So what happens is both customers, whether they're talking to Cynthia or I, are going to feel customer centric first because I have the big guidelines of what we can do for clients, the customization that we can do for clients. Cynthia has the written down rules. So she has it, so she can see it. I don't necessarily need to see it. I kind of know what our guidelines are. So that's how understanding the level of structure that's needed can really create that customer centric culture. You want to make sure that you have set both people up for success. They've given me the guidelines and have given Cynthia the specifics because I know I can find the specifics, so I don't need them right at my hand, where Cynthia likes them right at her hand with the specifics. So thinking about the behavioral differences of the people that you have in your company can truly assist you in creating that customer centric focused type of culture. So now I want to talk about communication a little bit more because I feel like communication is one of the big key components in regards to creating a culture of engagement, creating a culture where people feel that they are valued, but it's all about how you do that. Engaging an expressive communicator, you want to mix it up, meaning they want to have, of course, everybody needs some little factual information, but you really want to ensure that you're giving them the kudos, the rah-rahs, that public praise. Expressive communicators, they enjoy being the ones that kind of are paraded or in the newsletter or have those bells and whistles. They want to have an opportunity to really express themselves. Also, with your engaging expressive communicators, when you're thinking about this customer centric culture, all of these columns or all of these behaviors have strengths, all of these behaviors have challenges. The challenge of this expressive communicator is sometimes they may gloss over some of the facts, and so you want to make sure that you're arming them with the factual information as well, so arming them with the pricing and things like that. So when they do have a customer that wants a little bit more of the wants a little bit more of the information piece, they will be armed and have that. One thing that sometimes people think about expressive communicators is that they are the jokesters of the office, that we shouldn't take them seriously because they're always just joking around. That is sometimes a misnomer. Your expressive communicators, while they are, the upbeat, how are you doing? Good morning. How was your weekend? They should be taken seriously as well. And that's going to be, the same thing that I'm going to talk about for the analytical people, but on the opposite side of the coin, in regards to, just because your analytical people are serious doesn't mean that they can't joke around some. Like, oh, don't go over to her office because she doesn't like when we laugh. That's not necessarily true. And so when you're thinking about engaging a consultative communicator, you want to give them advance warning. You want to give them a heads up of what's going on. You also want to give them time to build relationships and rapport. I know we have some clients on the line, and you've probably all talked to Cynthia Brooks before. I know some of you all have. And she is someone that is more that consultative communicator, but she is very relational on the phone. Like sometimes the clients are like, Cynthia is the consultative communicator because she can build relationships. She does build relationships and rapport. And so, but sometimes it just takes them a little bit longer. And this is important, especially when you're interviewing for that customer centric culture, is sometimes your column fours, or excuse me, I keep calling them columns because all of our clients that are on the line know that Omnia speaks in columns. So when we're talking about that consultative communicator, it means that sometimes in an interview, they may be a little bit more reserved. I know I've had a client say, Tanya, it just seems like they were a wet noodle. And, it was like pulling teeth to get information, but that's because they're a little bit slower to warm up. But once you get that engine going, go, 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 go. And so it's just a matter of, really giving them that time to get there. And like that would be a time where I could mentor and train, develop in regards to I could take my time. I don't mind coaching that or helping that along. Because if you do have a consultative communicator, what you want to do is make sure you give them those conversation starters so they don't just go right into the meat of the matter. Like they are able to, you kind of warm people up, you kind of schmooze them a little bit, giving them some tips and tricks for that. And then lastly is they like using written communication when available. Like I am the type of person that I want to go to your office. Yes, I'm guilty. I'm raising my hand right now. Yes, I will send an email, then go to your office and say, I sent you an email. And now around the office, it's kind of a big joke because people will come over and say, I sent you an email, just because I am that expressive type of communicator, meaning I want to see your face as you're reading the email because I want to see if I can pick up on anything that your facial expressions are showing me, excuse me, where other people are more of that, let me send an email. Cynthia is an emailer. She she'll send me an email and then I'll walk over to her office to say, I got your email and talk about it that way. So now we're both winning because she got to give her email. So she got to get her communication out the way she wanted to. And then I am able to answer her the way I need to keep me engaged. So when you think about trying to have that customer centric culture, think about, how do we communicate with our clients? Is it more face to face? Is it more phone? Is it more written? That's going to help you in regards to bringing the right person on. That's a nice fit for that. So when you're thinking about having that winning culture, there are some components that are needed for that. The first component you need is understanding the perception. And so we here at the Omnia Group, we offer a cultural survey. And it is very fascinating when I go to and talk to executive leadership about what they thought their culture was. Their perception was completely off. The one that sticks out in my head so much is this one company that we did it for. They have about 50 employees. And so they have three different departments. It was an insurance company. And what happened was we did the cultural survey because they wanted to gauge the engagement and disengagement that they had. They had seen some things happen. They had went through an acquisition, and so they felt the tide was turning. They just didn't know how much. And it was highlighted when one of the participants wrote that she would call in sick from the parking lot. So let's really focus on this. She got up, turned off the alarm, or in my case, turned off Siri, got up, got dressed, got in the car, took the 45-minute commute or whatever, got to the parking lot, and just did not have the internal fortitude to make it through the door because she did not feel challenged. She did not feel valued. And when we talked to the executive leadership team and they saw the results, they were surprised. They knew that the culture was not the greatest, but they didn't know that people were actually not wanting to come into work every day. So you really want to understand the perception of what your people are feeling. And sometimes you don't know that until you do a survey, because the survey is anonymous. Because if think about, I just want everybody to think about the worst job that you ever had. If the boss came to you and said, how are you enjoying the culture? Or how are you enjoying your job? How many people would straight up say, no, I call in sick from the parking lot sometimes. I just can't even make it in. Not a lot of people are going to say that to the boss's face. And so having that anonymous survey really opened their eyes in regards to what needed to be done, and we created an action plan for them to kind of help them along. Next is everyone understands the core value. If everyone is not on the same page from the top to the bottom about what the core values of this company is, then you're really dead in the water. Your culture will never get to that customer centric place, because everybody is going in different directions. Next is communication. I know you've probably seen communication three times on this slide. This is how important communication is. You want to make sure that people, one, are feeling heard. Communication is a two-way street. If leadership is the only one that's talking, you're not communicating, you're dictating. So you want to make sure that we have a nice back and forth, and that people are feeling heard and listened to. And then lastly, continuing education. Everybody wants to feel challenged. Not every position has a promotion. Not every position will you be able to move up. But that doesn't mean that we have to have that we're going to be stagnant, that we're not going to make any moves. You can be with a company for 10 years, and if you're not getting any type of education, any type of challenge, that's when you people will start leaving, because they want to feel like they are making a difference. They want to feel like they are gaining knowledge in the industry, with their job, with the company. So having these four components are what has been successful for the companies that I want to work for, companies that people want to work for, that the commerce always gives out every year for different cities. These are the four core components that everybody is on the same page with that. And then you want to create brand ambassadors, because that's going to help you find people that's going to back up that customer centric culture. So if we go back to Chick-fil-A, if we go back to Disney, they have a lot of referrals, because people are their brand ambassadors are referring friends. When you go to those types of places, it just makes you think it must be great to work here. They must enjoy their job, because that's how they are, that's the energy that they are exuding when you come, excuse me, when you go to those locations. So when you're creating a brand ambassador, ambassador, you want to have that commitment. You want to make sure that the person is committed to what you're trying to do, to that customer centric culture. You want to make sure that they're committed to the company, to the core values, to the mission and vision statement. Also, you want to make sure that we are collaborating. We do not want to have a dictatorship. We do not want to have someone that's giving all the orders and not taking in, because if we all knew everything, then why did we hire anybody? If you think you are the smartest person in the room, move to a different room, because you've given all you could in that room. So you need to get with other people. And also, why are we hiring people if I think I know everything? So rely on the people that you have. So collaboration is great for creating brand ambassadors. Also, when you think about empowerment, now empowerment has been a buzzword for, I don't know, many years. And empowerment, you do want people to feel empowered. We all heard of that Nordstrom story, where I think it was Nordstrom's, where the guy returned a tire, and that was such a customer centric culture and focus, because they just wanted the customer to be satisfied. That's true. We do want to empower our people to make decisions, but it's all about how you empower them. You want to make sure that you're setting them up for success. If you don't give people any guidelines, then they won't feel as empowered. Like I talked about earlier, Cynthia feels very empowered because she knows the guidelines. She has the cheat sheet, and she has the manual. I feel empowered because I am able to be creative and in different areas of my responsibilities. So we are both in the same department. We're both feeling empowered, but we're both being managed differently by the same manager. And then lastly, accountability. When creating those brand ambassadors, so people that will speak for you, people that just through their interactions with your customers are your ambassadors, meaning they, you know what, Omnia must really treat their people well because every time I talk to someone, they seemed happy, they seem engaged, they seem informative, and that's because there's an accountability. I know what Cynthia's responsibilities are. I know if I talk to a client and say, we're going to do a benchmark study of your top performers for the producer role, and then I turn that over to Cynthia. I know that she's going to handle it because we all know what we're accountable for. She's accountable for doing benchmark studies. So now that customer feels that transition and it doesn't feel all clunky. You know, it is a nice automatic that's happening here. We are a well-oiled machine. So we're going to break these down a little bit further. So we're talking about that commitment to mission and vision. You know, actions need to match your words. You can't say that this company believes in work life balance, but when you send me an email or a text at 1 a.m. in the morning, I'm supposed to answer it. That's not matching your words because obviously we don't have a work life balance because when I leave this building, I'm still have to answer texts and emails that you're sending me. Next is shared vision excuse me, sorry, I went a little too fast. Shared versus personal motivation. We want to make sure that both of these are being answered. You know, people have their personal goals. We want to make sure that is being answered as well as the shared goal for the company. If one of your visions is that we educate and train and we develop our people, and one of my motivations is being developed, but you never develop me, then that's not, then those two things are not matching. So you want to make sure that everything is in line with each other. Meaning, if I want to be, the owner of the company and that's just not going to happen, then I probably need to move on and we probably need to part ways. Next is collaboration. And so you want to make sure that everybody's role is highlighted. Everybody understands the part that they're playing in this organization. And next, you want to ensure that we meet regularly because how are we collaborating if I never see you? How are we collaborating if we never have a meeting? Now, I'm saying let's not have a meeting because we need to have a meeting. Make sure we're having a meeting with purpose. I always say don't have a meeting when it could have been an email. Why are we meeting? Do we need to have this meeting? And don't just have a meeting because you read in a management book that we're supposed to meet regularly. Make sure the meetings are impactful and meaningful. That's how you're going to get the most out of that collaboration. Also, you want to send out an agenda ahead of time of the meeting so you don't have the cricket meeting, meaning nobody's saying anything. So if you're going to have a meeting, let's send out an email what the agenda is, what questions you're going to have so people can start thinking about it and bring ideas to the table. Next is that empowerment piece. You want to make sure that you don't beat someone up for making a mistake. Mistakes are correctable. Take them as a learning, as a learning opportunity. Also, you want to ensure that you offer information. So make sure you give them that detail, set them up for success. And then accountability. Accountability is not a dirty word in my book. I enjoy accountability. Accountability means that we're all playing on an even play field, meaning if I have to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, everyone else has to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. That John doesn't get to come in at 9 o'clock and leave at 4:30. So you want to make sure that you're holding everyone accountable. And then also having accountability will stop some of the negative conflict that may happen because we all know what we're all supposed to do. And so we all know that we're going to be held accountable for what we're supposed to do. So I don't have to go run to someone and say, well, why didn't you do this? And they didn't do that. We all know what it is, at the start, at the front, and that we know that if we don't do it, that someone is going to be held accountable for not getting that piece done. You also want to get that commitment for the accountability, because if you're holding me accountable for something and you didn't tell me, then how, then I didn't know. So that's that whole thing of, let's not wait until our yearly review to find out that I've been making mistakes since day one. Also, you want to link rewards to rewards to benefits. So when you're thinking about celebrating and you're thinking about creating that culture, you first need to know yourself. You need to know who you are so you'll know how to really motivate the team. And you want to be able to celebrate and motivate each other in the way that they need it. So celebrate the team successes. And you have to understand who you are first to do that. And then recognize the individual contributions of the team. So it's great to have team goals, but it's also nice to have those individual goals as well. And then you still want to keep that mission vision statement number one. So whatever that custom, and right now it's that customer centric culture. That so every answer that we come up, every solution that we come up with should really be focused on that customer centric piece. And then talking about, do you know? So do you know yourself? Do you know, the individual? So do you know the people that you're bringing on? Do you know the role that you're looking for? And do you know the culture? Knowing these three things is going to help you create that customer centric culture. And we do that by one, having the professional development styles. We also have, there's 17 different personality types that you can have in your organization. So that's 17 different styles that you need to understand and know about to really get that grasp of, where do I need to start creating this customer centric focus. The first start is understanding who you are. The second part is understanding who your people are. Because your culture is healthy when you have low turnover, and that's going to help by understanding those four pieces, having that accountability, also having that work life balance. Change is always welcome, wanting, having that flexibility, and having that top talent that works for you. You want to gain that insight with the culture. So you want to understand that cultural survey, because you don't want to have that person that's calling in sick from the workplace. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you are not a client of Omnia, I want to let you know that if you do get a gratis for attending our session today, definitely contact me for that. You can contact me via email. Tony is going to pop up the presentation for you. The recording is sent to you immediately after we close the session. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and type those in now. Again, my name is Tanya Devane. Thank you for joining us today. I am going to still be here if you have any questions, but I know we are at our 45 minutes. So everyone have a great day.